It's your host, Heather. I'm back with another episode of the So She Slays podcast. And today I have HeatherAsh with me. Now, she is quite popular in, I want to say, the spiritual mental health realm. And she also does a lot of philanthropy. But she's also a best-selling author. And like I said, a philanthropist and the founder of the Center for Creative Intent, which sounds pretty intriguing in itself. But before I ramble on about you and we get into today's topic, Heather Ash, just tell me a little bit about like how you even got started in all of this.
Such a good question. I grew up in Southeast Asia, traveled around a lot as a kid. And so when I came to the States to go to college, I was very already immersed in writing and journalism and became an activist for several years. And a couple of years into that, I realized, okay, wait a minute, I'm burnt out. All my friends are burnt out. The world is not changing. And that's when I started going back to studying spiritual traditions and studied European shamanic tradition, eventually met Don Miguel Ruiz, who's author of the Four Agreements, studied with Miguel for many, many, many years, and have really, through living and teaching, woven a lot of different things together with a love of writing.
I bet. I mean, what a journey in itself. And that kind of leads us into today's topic. I feel like, we're still in the beginning-ish of the year. And I feel like last year we all have a little PTSD. We're we're all trying to make it through. 2023 was a little rough. It's a little rough. And I know that there's a lot of people who are like, not again. We're not doing this again. How do I make sure we don't end up there? And I feel like you're the right person to talk to about this. Because I feel like sometimes it might be a little bit of a mindset thing.
Absolutely. It is definitely a mindset. And part of that mindset is around not having expectations, either negative expectations of this is going to be worse or positive expectations, this is going to be better. 2024 is going to be what it's going to be. Like any year is going to be what it's going to be. And we keep hoping. I think this is why things are so challenging in a way, is we're like, can it get better, please? And there's this hope and this expectation that for some of us gets dashed. And for some of us, it's like, oh yeah, it is getting better. But what I really work with myself and with the people that I work with is around staying centered in ourselves and being clear about, what do I bring to the year? What am I bringing to my life? What quality do I want to embody? So that regardless of what's happening outside, I can use everything to practice embodying that quality. So it's what I call our true work.
That is such a cool perspective. I don't think I've ever looked at a year that way. It's like, what am I bringing to the table that's really going to do something for me this year? Do you often feel that that's the case for a lot of people? It's like switching that mindset to where it's like, what am I doing, rather than like really focusing on outside forces?
Absolutely. And it does. It's a complete game changer. That, so often we're like, what's the world bringing to me, or what am I going to get, or how's it going to be? And there's something so powerful about saying, it doesn't matter what happens out here, I'm going to learn how to get steadier and more solid and more present and more compassionate within myself. And often we think about our work as something that we're doing outside of ourselves. For me, our true work is what we're learning how to do inside of ourselves. So, and I invite people to pick one quality, one thing that you feel like is what you're here to learn how to do. And it's not the thing you know how to do. It's the thing that it's a stretch. So like my true work is love. And
really?
So yeah, so my intent is, no matter what else is going around me, how do I come back to love? How do I come back to, and for me, love is about respect and presence and intimacy with everything. With everything.
That's crazy. I would say, I always laugh. My thing is patience. I have such the hardest time with patience. Nothing ever moves fast enough for me.
So that's perfect. That might be your true work. And imagine if, like, you're waiting in line for coffee and you feel yourself frigid and you're like, okay, how do I get patient in this moment? How do I show up in
Ooh.
this moment with patience or whatever the quality is, compassion, a sense of peace? I had a couple years ago the land that I steward. I have 180 acres outside of New Mexico, and we lost 175 acres in a wildfire. And
Ouch.
when the fire was going through the land, because you could map it and I could watch where it was,
Yeah.
I had to just stop. I mean, I'm crying and I like, okay, how do I bring love to this? How do I bring love to a literal fire wiping out something that was, is very important to me? And I closed my eyes and I'm like, all right, how do you connect to love now? And
Mm.
what I ended up doing is feeling how much I love my trees. Like I love all that forest. And so I literally sang to the trees and said, I'm so sorry. I love you as the fire was going through. And that helped me stay present with my grief, but also with the loss and with what my mission is for myself. And that then helps me then rebuild as well.
Okay. Okay. So I have a few questions. I got a few questions with that. So is that like like what's the difference between our true purpose and then like our own mission of learning? Is that the same thing? I feel like people kind of get confused. I get confused.
Yeah, I make things simple. Like that's part of my work is like how do we make things simple? And I had a lot of people that I work with that suffered around. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know why I'm here
Mm.
for. I don't know what I'm bringing to the world. And as I really felt into it, I realized if we just simplify it to one thing, then I'm here to learn how to bring this quality into the world, simplifies everything. And so it's really your mission and what you're bringing to the world and what you're learning how to do. And I always say your true work is something that you can do. It's not your job. Like it's not your physical day-to-day job. It's something that you can do at your job. It's also something you can do while you're picking up dog shit in the backyard, right? You can do it everywhere and it's all practice. Doesn't mean you know how to do it, but you're willing, like, okay, how do I bring love to picking up dog poo? How do I do that? I don't even know what that looks like, but let me think about and feel into that. And suddenly it blurs all the lines of this is my work and this is my play. Like everything becomes experimental and a
Oh,
learning.
okay. So how do you even go about finding what your thing is? I mean, I picked patience because one, I know I have none. Two, people tell me I need to be more patient. Three, things be irritating me sometimes, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, can you just do what I told you to do? And so it's like I know I do, and I have made patience, practicing having patience a resolution, a New Year's resolution of mine for years upon years. And sometimes I do really well, and sometimes I totally forget. And I'm like, I'm all in my anxiety and angst, and that's just not a fun place to be. So I know that patience is probably my thing. But what if you don't know?
It's about being willing to listen to what it might be. I do a little meditation with people, which is super simple, which is to imagine, get really, really quiet and imagine you're dropping the question into your being. And the question is, what's my true work? What's my true work? What am I here to bring and to learn? And that you then drop that question into your being and then wait for an answer to arise. Because we don't want our mind to just grab onto something necessarily and being like, this feels easy. We want our being to show us. And
Mm.
that often it's also like you talked about, like that you've been exploring patience and that's getting mirrored back to you. I've known for a long time that finding like what unconditional love is a big part, has always been a big part of my path. And so it's that willingness to ask the question and then listen to the depth of your being for the answer to come up. And it may take, sometimes people are like, I know. And sometimes it takes a week or two of paying attention and listening and letting it arise. And then play with it. Like, okay, I think it's love. Let me go practice love for the next week and see how it feels. And sometimes what happens is then the next level arises of, oh, it's actually not love, it's about faith. Okay, let me try that. And so you can try things on until you really feel like it's a match.
Yeah. Okay, that's a great way to look at it. And now I also want to tie this back to like, is that the end all be all, is finding what your true work is? Is that what's going to help people kind of shift mindsets and maybe have a better year, or look at 2024 as a better year, or even look at new opportunities as better? Or are there other parts of this equation that help?
The true work's a great foundation, and the second one I'd say is experimentation. To start to see everything as an experiment and an exploration, and let's try this out. And so instead of having the expectation of it's going to be good, it's going to be bad, people should be this way, the world should be this way, when we let go of that and just say, I'm going to show up and experiment with what's arising, it becomes a lot more playful. Because part of what can happen is that we can get super serious around doing it right, or other people doing it the way we think they should, or the year behaving like we think it should. And the world is very unpredictable. It's very unknowable. It's very mysterious. And the more that we can show up with the mystery, with curiosity, a sense of play, a sense of experimentation, it gets us out of that perfectionism
Mm.
and the trying to control everything,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
allows us to, I just wrote a book called Wild, Willing, Wise, and it's all about the river. And the subtitle is When to Paddle, When to Rest, and When to Jump Naked into the River of Life. And it's such a great metaphor of sometimes you paddle, sometimes you don't paddle. You let life take you where it's going.
And then you right, well, and like learning to recognize those
Yes.
moments in life are super important too. I mean, I
Super
think it's one
important.
of those things when you kind of like what you said, when you approach life with a little bit of a curiosity experimental type of mentality. I think sometimes even myself, like even in 2023, I feel like you just saying that to me was a little bit of a trigger where I was like, you know what, may I quit doing that. I quit doing that. And I always had the expectations, or this has to happen. This must happen. It's not working out the way. And it was such a angst filled time where, desperation was happening, trying to figure out what was, up or down, right? Or like all of this stuff. I felt like I was just constantly under that foundation of pressure, and nothing was working out in my favor, and all of this kind of stuff. And it's one of those things where sometimes I feel like you have to go through a period of time in which something like that happens in order for you to go back to what you knew before. And you're like, look, you really need to be just a little bit more curious about it. Like, this is life telling you you have no control over any of this. Like, you do what you can every day, and then you just got to leave the rest to the universe, to God, whatever you believe in. You just got to leave it alone.
Yes. Yeah. And to understand that we're on a river. We're on the river of life, and it moves. And sometimes it's sweet and it's placid and there's the scenery is beautiful, and sometimes it's really scary and there's a lot of rapids and we get thrown out of the boat. And to be able to show up like you're saying, of like, all right, what is here? And it also helps to have guides, to have community, to have people that have been down the river and can say, this is a place you can actually rest. Or, all right, pick up your paddle. This part's going to be rough. It's going to be intense. We can do it though. So having guides, having community, having allies is really helpful as well.
So talk to me a little bit about your book that's coming out. I think it's September, summer 2024. Is that what I
It's coming
remember?
out, yeah, July 2024.
Oh my
And
gosh.
oh, I'm so excited about it. It's a workbook, and it's based on these three qualities of wild, willing, and wise.
Okay.
And so our wild self is a part of us that's playful and curious and like, let's try everything. And you can have an excess of wild or a deficiency of wild. So too
I
much
think
wild. Mhm.
People would tell me I have an excess of wild. I kind of just want to say, "Fuck it, let's try it. Why not?
It's
Ignorance is
fun.
definitely bliss in a lot of my things, and then I get in it and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. And that excess of wild is like, let's get on the boat. Oh, we don't have paddles. We don't have, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. So it's a fun energy, and we want to figure out what's the balance for us
Mm,
so that we're balanced with the wild energy, that it's working for us. And when we have an excess, it can work against us. Same
yes.
when we have a deficiency. There's a lot of people that I know that have deficiency of wild because they're like, oh, that's young. I should be really serious. I'm not allowed to be playful at all. So we need to call that wild part back. The second quality is called willing. I think about these as guides, like you want these on your boat in the river. So the willing energy is about, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm willing to show up. And I think this is another huge thing that can transform our perception is letting go of thinking you need to understand or know what is going to happen next or how you're going to do whatever the thing is, and just to be like, I'm willing to show up and figure this out as I go along. And
Mm,
really, so much is we just need the willingness, and
yeah.
we'll figure it out.
No,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. That is definitely how 2023 ended. I was like, well, I'm showing up. We're just gonna see how this goes. Like, it
Beautiful. Yeah. And it makes such a big difference because then
definitely
we
took
can
the
say,
stress
here.
off.
Yeah,
It definitely took the stress off. My anxiety calmed the hell down.
yes, exactly. And you
What
can
about
have
that
an
third part?
excess of willing or a deficiency of willing as well.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
the third part is wise. So
Mm,
connecting to our stillness, to our intuition, to that inner knowing, that the wise energy is taking what we've learned and embodying it and not needing to take action all the time. There's a lot of trust that happens in faith when we land more in our wise. And again, we can be in excess of wise or deficient of wise.
yeah.
Have excess of wise that's like, well, I've already been through that. I know exactly what's going to happen next, or I know what you should be doing.
Mm,
Versus humility. True wisdom is really humble
yeah.
and very patient. Mhm.
We're working on it.
It's a work in progress for all of us.
We're
So.
working on it. So with this book, you said it's a workbook and you're trying to encourage people to find their own balance with these three things. How does that book go about doing that?
It does it by breaking down what are the qualities of wild, the excess of wild, the deficiency, willing, and wise. So you get a roadmap.
Mm,
And the roadmap is here's where you might be out of balance. So I have a lot of quizzes throughout it so you can get to know yourself better. The whole book is a metaphor around the river of life and different ways, like what to do when you feel like you're drowning, what to do when you feel like you're not sure how to paddle, and how to use those three energies as guides. So they're actually helping to bring balance. There's a lot of meditations as well, because I found that often like the reading of something can be helpful. The journaling or like answering questions helps take us to the next level of understanding and embodying things. And then the visualization is an audio that is part of the book as well, where you can download it online, that walks you through how to meet and get to know a wild guide, how to find what your wise feels like in your body. So it's interactive in a lot of different ways.
oh my gosh, I'm excited. Now I want to get this book because now I want to be like, what am I? What am I like deficient in? What do I have too much of? I can guess, but I mean, I'm all about like Sochi Slays is all about self-awareness and getting to know yourself because we feel like that's one of your main jobs here. Is, if you don't know you, how do you expect other people to know you? Um, so I kind of want to take it back a little bit to what we talked about in the beginning when you say, when you're trying to, make any situation or any outlook or 2024 look better is to not have any expectations. And I think sometimes we confuse expectations with goals. So can we talk a little bit about the differences and what exactly we mean by not having expectations?
Absolutely. And I was thinking that earlier. I'm like, ooh, we need to talk about what I call intent. So, intent is where your focus is going, where you're choosing to put your energy and your focus. And what we want to learn how to do is to be very clear about what our intent is, or another way to say that, or what is a goal.
Mm,
And here's how I think about it is you're planting a seed. You're saying, hey, universe, I want this. This is my intent. I want more clarity. I want more peace in my life. I want a job that's in alignment with my goals and my morals. And you're planting a seed in the universe. And then we have to let it go.
mm.
And so a part of setting intent is 100% yes, I claim this, I want this, and I'm planting the seed of this. And now we need to step back and let go. And it's just like planting the seed in the earth. You don't keep digging it up like, how are you doing now? You want to like let it be in the earth and let the magic happen under the ground. And then it'll start to sprout. And so there's this way that when you do that, you're surrendered to, you know what your intent is, and you're also now listening to redirect yourself towards that intent.
Okay.
So one of my first teachers, her father was a rocket scientist, and he taught her heat seeking missiles are off target 99.5% of the time.
Wow.
But what they do is they adjust. So
Um,
if you know where you are and you're honest with yourself, that awareness that you were saying, if you're absolutely honest with where you're at and what's going on, and you know where you're going, you can then adjust. And
yes.
most of us adjust by punishing ourselves or beating ourselves. Like, I can't believe I'm going off target. What's wrong with me? I know where I'm supposed to be going. And so we're judging ourselves, but we're still going off target. And then when we redirect, sometimes we're like kind of whack ourselves and then we sail off another direction. And what I really teach and practice is how do we start to lovingly, kindly, compassionately be like, oh, sweetie, no, 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 this way. Oh, wait, okay, I think we're course correct, course correct, course
Yes.
correct. So there's that love and that presence and that awareness of redirecting ourselves of where we want to go, but also knowing that sometimes it's like if you go up a mountain, you don't always see the top of the mountain. Sometimes you're going around the back. So
Mm-hmm.
there's that listening of like, this doesn't feel like I'm on the path, but I think I actually am. I just need to give it a little bit more time. That we learn as we get more intimate with ourselves.
Yes. And I think it's very easy to forget sometimes too. I always kind of attribute that stuff to I always have this like image in my head of a bowling lane and the bumpers and it's
Yes.
like you just bounce off the sides. And that's how I've always kind of thought of things where, if something goes terribly wrong or not what I expected or anything like that, I'm just kind of like, okay, zoom out, what is this telling me? Like, am I headed in the wrong direction? And sometimes I'm a little stubborn and I keep trying and I keep getting the same dang answer until something clicks and you're like, okay, maybe this is not what we're supposed to be doing. But the same thing happens when something is right. The feelings that you get when you do something that you really meant to be doing, you enjoy, it I feel like those bumpers do the same thing, right? And I always like I've had lots of friends go on several different journeys with careers or experiences, and I have a lot of friends in the entertainment industry, and the entertainment industry is volatile. It is all over the place. So there is a lot of just trusting yourself and having that faith, but also I've always kind of told people, I was like, it helps to have a direction, knowing what you want, but also understanding that you are in a bowling lane, so things are going to go, back and forth. You're not the world's most expert like bowler here. It's not a straight path. But you're always going to be making decisions that are going to lead you closer to your direction or to what you feel like your goal is. And those decisions will then implicate which way you turn, right or left, or you just keep going straight. So do you kind of have the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And when we're not judging ourselves if we are off, so you make a mistake or you're going, you're following somebody else's path without realizing it, of like, oops, this isn't actually what I want to do, this is what somebody else wants to do. If we're able to not judge ourselves and just be like, period, it's one of my favorite tools, is like, just put a period in the sentence. So you don't need to beat yourself up or feel bad, or just like, period, take a breath, okay, redirect. Everything is so much easier because we spend a tremendous amount of time often judging ourselves or feeling victimized by the world.
Mm.
And so the moment that when we have the awareness and we can be like, oh, wait, I'm judging myself. Stop, sweetheart. Stop right here, period. Come back into the present. And then, like you said, like zoom out. Okay, which direction do I want to go now? And that then coming back to what's my true work, that puts your feet on the ground in a really beautiful way. That if you know, okay, my true work is compassion, say, how do I bring that compassion to myself? Because that's part of the beauty of knowing what your true work is, that you bring it to yourself first.
Mm.
You're learning to embody it for yourself first. And then, okay, what's the choice? What's my next step? Where do I want to put? And the reminder too for all of us is that we don't have to do it alone. Sometimes we think, well, I'm
Yes.
an empowered woman, or like I'm doing it right if I'm completely independent and I'm making all my own choices and I'm not getting any help. And that's so backwards. Like, we need each other, we need support, we need guidance. We want to mentor others and also be mentored and guided. And
Yeah.
so that place of having a pack that you can check in with, that is also non-judgmental. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that is one of my major turnoffs. I hate when people try and judge me. But also too, it's one of those things where I will honestly say it is the people around me that will check me constantly. My closest friends will check me enough to be like, "Hey, you're really stressing out about this. Maybe we need to let it go. Or did you think about doing X, Y, and Z? Or, maybe we just keep going and we just figure it out as we go." It's just one of those things where, I mean, that's life, right? You kind of forget all of the things that you learned and you have to relearn it.
constantly, constantly. And it's a spiral, it's a cycle, that there's going to be things that come back around again. And if we're able to not judge ourselves and just be like, ah, there's that thing again. Hello. All right, we're going back in again.
You're like, oh, okay, I recognize you. I've been here before.
Yes.
Um,
Humor
so,
is so helpful.
oh
Like,
my
that's another big shift, is just starting to remember how funny we all are.
approaching life with humor is probably like my go-to. I feel like you have to have a sense of humor because the universe has a sense of humor. And you're just like, of course we would, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
So I feel like, it's just easier to handle when you're like, all right, fine. Before we totally wrap up this interview, I always like to leave our audience with some action items, tips, all this kinds of stuff. When I would like to know, part of me is a little selfish about this, but I would like to know, when we are teetering on the edge of going back down that spiraling path, and that control, the perfectionism, the anxiety, the angst starts coming back in, and we're like, ah, in more than one way. Uh, what do we do to pull ourselves out of that?
here's a really simple practice. Put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and take a breath and really come present. So the mind usually wants to like look at worst case scenario and look at the future of like all the terrible things that could happen, or go into the past and look at all the things that went wrong, and then it just makes it worse, right? And so to come back and be like, hey, hi, sweetheart, hi, we're okay, we're right here, take a breath, period. Don't go into the future, don't go into the past, right here. That is such a huge reset. It's so simple, but it changes everything,
Hmm.
because it's helping us shift from our mind leading the way, which your mind's not the most helpful tool.
No, it
a lot
really,
of
it's
time.
annoying at times.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's so often so filled with judgment and comparison and fear, and to come back into the body and the heart, into presence, such a relief.
Right, right.
It's a practice. And one way to practice it is there's something I call the gap, looking for the gaps. So in our lives, there's all sorts of moments where we're in between. We're walking to the bathroom, we're waiting in line for a cup of coffee. Um, there's all the times that there's space. Instead of filling it with the future or past, period, I'm waiting in line for coffee. Can I just be right here, practice my true work, not make a list, not worry about what happened in the past? But if you start doing that in all the gaps, instead of filling it with your phone or worrying about things, everything starts to even out in a really beautiful way. But you have to capture your own attention and bring it where you want it to go over and over and over again. So that's a beautiful way, period. Look for the gaps and pick a practice, whether it's breathing or working on your true work or chanting something, like whatever. How do you, in those gaps, stay here
I love
in your
that. And that
body, in
is
your heart?
so easy to practice. I mean, how many times are we standing around waiting for something, and we're on our phones and we're just like scrolling mindlessly when you can just make the active choice to not be on your phone and just exist.
Yes. And I think this is crucial because we're filling ourselves up constantly. And so
Mhm.
this is a practice of actually emptying, creating some space. And when we create space in our being, we're not constantly consuming. When we create more spaciousness in our being, that allows our creativity, our intuition, our wisdom, our knowing to arise naturally, our love, our joy.
Mm.
So practicing looking for the gaps, period, and creating more spaciousness, huge gift to ourselves and to everyone around us.
Honestly, yeah, because I feel like in this world when we're constantly consuming and we never have enough.
Yes, exactly. There's a constant hunger. And so we're teaching ourselves you don't have to always, your mind doesn't always have to be looking for something to eat. Like
Mm.
just be right here and breathe. And you know, so often we're avoiding things. And we always talk about in dreams, like if there's a monster chasing you, turn and face the monster. And you
Yes.
realize it's not that big. And so often, sometimes we need help with things, but when we start to create more spaciousness, sometimes those old feelings or fears or stories start to arise. When we face them, they'll clear. We can stop running from them, whether it's an emotion or an old story. And again, we don't have to do this by ourselves. We can get support and guidance. But that principle of just slow down, find the gaps, stop filling constantly, and be gentle, be compassionate.
Oh, I love that. Heather Ash, where can we find you, follow you? Where can we order this book that's coming out summer 2024?
Yay! I'm on most of the social media, HeatherAsh Amara, and also Warrior Goddess on Facebook. And the book is coming out again July, and it'll be available everywhere. It'll be online. It's through St. Martin's Essentials. So
Oh, I love
available
it.
all
You
places.
also have a podcast yourself.
I do. I have a podcast called Warrior Goddess Revolution.
So
And
if,
yeah,
if this was just a little taste and you want a little more,
yes, come on over to, yes.
thank you so much for joining us. I greatly appreciate it. And Slay Nation, I hope you've gotten something from this. I've gotten things, gotten some tips, some solid pieces of advice. And until next time, Slay Nation, we'll catch you later.